Parashat Vayishlach. That's right. Parashat Vayishlach is a very difficult parasha, not because of the magnitude of the story and whatever takes place there, but also because of the message that the parasha has to carry with it to us. And it is, believe me, very, very, very applicable to our times. To what we experience today and what we're going through today. The interaction between Yaakov and Esav after they were separated for about 20 years raises a lot of problems, many problems that come because of that. Yaakov comes to this meeting, or to meet Esav, after he was delivered a divine promise by HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself that he's going to be able to return to his father's home in peace, like no problem. Even more so, right before he meets Esav, right before he meets Esav, he comes across those angels, the Malachim. They come to greet him on his way to Eretz Israel. Not only to greet him, but also to escort him on his journey. And after all of that, what does Yaakov do? He sends messengers to Esav, his brother, to appease him, to beg in front of Esav for his soul, for his sake, and the sake of his family. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't understand that behavior. I just don't understand this behavior. Thank you. Is Yaakov Avinu lekin emunah? Doesn't know. Kadosh Baruch Hu told him, listen, Habibi, you're going to go home, it's going to be okay. Malachim are escorting him. You don't have emunah? I mean, what's your problem? Is maybe we got Yaakov Avinu all wrong. Maybe Yaakov Avinu, Chas v'Shalom, is a coward. Yaakov Avinu is a coward. Because regardless of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu had promised him, he's still afraid. I don't know. I'm sure you guys all thought about it one time, right? So, first of all, before we continue, I want to dedicate this shiur, first of all, to all the brothers and sisters in Israel, and especially those who are in captivity by the cruel beasts in Gaza. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu return them home safe and sound, quickly. And also, Refuah Shlema of Mazal Bat Leah, Chaim Israel Halevi ben Batya, Yitzchak ben Devorah, Tzviya bat Sarah, Vechana bat Mazal. Huh? Amen. Okay. Amen. So let's not jump the gun. Some chulant is very good. Idan made it. Idan is the chulant king here. So the Chumash tells us that the night before that meeting, Yaakov was wrestling what we call im Elokim ve'im anashim. He was fighting with men and he was fighting with angels. So, and he was alone. He was alone without any kind of shelter or to hide, without any weapons to fight at night. And he's being attacked by someone that, according to what Chazal tells us, looks to him, as the Lashon says, listim mezuyan. In other words, it was an armed thug, right? Probably wearing a green bandana over his head. And according to other commentators, he understood and realized right away that he's some kind of a heavenly, creature, heavenly being. But between that approach and the other approach, he's standing, whether it's this or that, he's standing in front of something that is very, very terrible, very, very frightening, that he fights with it all night long. I mean, all night. I don't know if you ever did any kind of sparring in your life. Sparring takes a tremendous amount of power from you. I mean, you can fight for a whole entire night. Imagine wrestling. Right? We have a champion wrestler here, right? Hello, wrestler. Right? How long that you could really fight with like full steam ahead in one fight?
Each round is like a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
A minute to what?
Like each round is like maybe 2 minutes. Like
2 minutes. 2 minutes around for wrestling. And how do you feel after a minute?
After 10 seconds.
After 10 seconds, you're already out. One of the things I used to do when I was in the Air Force, I used to, with my best friend Moshon, he used to come to my office, we used to lock the door, right? Nobody interrupts, no telephone, no nothing, take some children. No, nothing. We used to, first of all, do 100 push-ups, that was a rule, and then we used to wrestle. But I'm telling you, you're out of breath. And then we used to drink coffee. To fight a whole night, that's, I don't know, that's really crazy. And really, it says later on, Sarita im Elokim v'manashim. In other words, you did something that is really superior. So therefore, why are you going back? Sit here. Why are you going back and you so-called, let's put it this way, kiss up to your brother? So the answer might be quite clear. Here, we have a psychologist on board. We have a wrestler. We have a psychologist on board. Right? Baruch Hashem. Yaakov Avinu, let's get it straight. Yaakov Avinu is not a chicken. He's not a coward. Yaakov Avinu is not afraid. He is not concerned of dangers that might come to him and to his family by force from the outside, by violence that comes from the outside. Guys, pay attention. He is not afraid of that. That he can deal. Habibi, hey, he got Shimon and Levi over there. They themselves took a whole entire city. By themselves. Maybe we'll talk about them later on. He's not afraid of that. That he can handle. That, for Yaakov Avinu, is a piece of cake. He knows who his kids are. He knows who Yehuda is. All these people. He's not afraid of that. Yaakov Avinu is not afraid from violence that comes from outside, but he's really, really afraid of himself. Yaakov Avinu is afraid of himself. He knows that what he did to his brother 20 years ago might not have been the right thing to do in the right way. He knows that. He knows that, and that's why he does not have the courage to fight his brother as he was able to fight even an angel. The Kabbalah tells us that if you would see an angel, you will basically, drop dead. I mean, it will petrify you. That's why we can't see it. Like HaKadosh Baruch Hu kind of blinds us that we're not going to see this because we're not going to be able to live after that. We'll be petrified. You think angels are like little Cupid flying like this with rosy cheeks, with wings, going shooting arrows. No, these are scary beings. It's not something pleasant to see. David HaMelech, they saw the Malach, it was like trembling until the end of time. Yaakov Avinu is not afraid, but he knows he's afraid of himself. He's himself because he knows that his conscience is not completely clean towards his brother. He does not feel good about it, and therefore he accepting upon himself that self-humiliation. He's humiliating himself deliberately, as long as he doesn't have to fight that same brother that he did to him something that was wrong, that he would need to atone for. That's what Yaakov Avinu is doing. Now, this is not something that we something out of the ordinary. But if you talk about it's quite obvious. If you talk about the psychology behind Yaakov Avinu, right? That's basically what it is. But beyond that, the pasuk tells us that. So you might say, okay, Rabbi, that's very nice. You learn psychology, yofi chazaku baruch hakol tov v'yafeh. But that's psychology. We don't hold by psychology. Well, first of all, I'm going to ask you why not. Don't be imbeciles. If there is psychology, of course, if it does not contradict the Torah. So learn psychology. You can help a lot of people like that. I just cannot stand those people that refuse, and sometimes it's not because they really believe what they're saying, and I'm going to tell you this, it's because they put up a show. So they have to go with a show, because the show must go on. But the Pasuk tells us this. The Pasuk tells us, he said something very, 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 very weird. It says, at the beginning, he talks about many times about the mincha that he sends Esav, right? And when he meets him, he says to him, he talks about minchati, my offering. But later on, while they keep on talking, when we really understand, it's clear that he's talking about appeasing, trying to make peace with Esav. Yaakov Avinu have what you would call a Freudian slip. And it says also, and I'm quoting, Kachna et birchati asher uveti lach. Take my blessing on which I brought to you. Take my blessing. That is a very strange Freudian slip, because instead of mincha, he says bracha. Because Yaakov really remembers that parasha of the bracha when he so-called stole it from Esav. And right now, when he's trying to make peace with him, he's trying to give this ordeal as I'm giving you back what in a way I took from you, which he knows that he hurt him. And we know that Esav was very hurt by that. As much as we would like to, find Esav a scapegoat, but we really know that Esav was crying. The Pasuk tells us. Vayitzak tza'aka gdola. He was crying. And that's something that we should also stop already. We continue with the stories that we heard in second grade, also when we are almost down the grave. I mean, it's like, come on, grow up from the stories. Try to learn something else. And only if we learn like this, we'll be able to take what we see in the Torah, what we learn in the Torah, and apply it to our life. Not to repeat the same mistakes. But history does not repeat itself. The patterns of behavior repeat themselves. So if you're able to identify the pattern, you'll be able to avoid mistakes that already happen. People change, situations change, patterns stay the same. Almost like, call it the algorithm of life. That stays in place. And Yaakov knows that. And that's why the Torah is saying, so let's learn from that. How are we going to interact with those representatives of Esav today as well? So, Yaakov gives a clear message to Esav, and yet he's getting ready. Right? He's getting ready because the Malachim come back with his messages, with a clear message. Banu el achicha el Esav. Right? We came to your brother, to Esav. Right? Maybe he had another brother in the time being. And it says on that, Rashi says, Sha'ita omer achiu, you might say he's my brother, right? Aval hu noeg imcha ke'esav harasha odenu b'zi, he still hates you. You might think you're coming to your brother, but this guy still hates you. So banu el achicha el Esav. Banu el achicha el Esav. And it says, as we says, Yaakov really prepares himself in three things. What does he do? He gets tefillah, he prays. He gives gifts. And he prepares to war. He prepares to war. Unlike some fools who think that by them sitting down and doing nothing, it just comes from a place of, I guess, stupidity and arrogance. Listen, there's nothing in the world would compare to learning Torah. But sometimes you also need to prepare to war. You need to do something yourselves. Yohish Tadlut is not just by sitting down and send somebody else to war. If all Am Israel would sit down and learn and pray, that's something else. But as long as there are other people who are fighting, we cannot sit on the side and let somebody else or somebody else's kid put themselves in danger while we're sitting down in, I don't know where, in South Bnei Brak or in Ramot Ramot Brooklyn over there in Bet Shemesh, And which is, again, another thing which I don't understand. Why would anybody go to Israel instead of all around Americans and English speaking? I mean, you stayed over there for what? To stay in Brooklyn? You brought Brooklyn into Israel? Go into the Israeli communities. Integrate yourself with the people. I just don't understand it. Don't understand it. But that's another story. It's a different thing. So we need to learn from that something, that with all the promises that we have from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even if we have strong emunah, we are not allowed to think that we deserve anything. Yaakov Avinu understands that. Yaakov Avinu understands that even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him that promise, he still cannot have the attitude, Magia li, I deserve it. Yaakov is concerned that maybe there was some kind of a sin inside of him, some kind of a spiritual blemish inside of him, that by having that spiritual blemish, Esav would win him. Esav would not win Yaakov because of Esav's strength, but rather because of Yaakov's weakness. And that applies to us today as well. And you need to understand that, not just remember, you need to understand that. 20 years he did not sit in the promised land. He did not do kibud avayim. He was busy making money. He was making herds, cattle. When he learned Torah, he did not punish. So maybe Esav, that was next to his parents, did the kibud avayim, and maybe by this he's going to win him. So therefore he doesn't take it for granted, and he doesn't say, I deserve it. Magieli, he doesn't say that. That's why he cries for Shamayim, for heaven, for mercy. Basically he was saying, please, have rachamim on me, have mercy on me, I want to live. Together with that prayer, with that asking for mercy, he does hishtadlut. He puts his due diligence. And that hishtadlut, a person needs to do whatever he can in his natural way, and not to count on miracles. Because we know, en sumchim al hanes. The miracle will happen if HaKadosh Baruch Hu chooses it to happen. But it's halacha, ein sumchim al hanes. Don't count the miracles. You need to get up and go. So if your enemies are coming up and banging on your door, don't just sit there and take your Gemara and learn. Even the Torah itself says, Hakam le'argecha, hashkem le'orgo. You need to get up and deal with it. You need to engage and deal with it. So, and that's why he divides his camp into two, and he sends gifts to Esav, to Sophanin, and so on and so forth, because he knows, Hashochad yaver einei chachamim. If bribery is going to make the wise man blind, blind, basically, even more so for the wicked. You want to see how society is? See how much you can get with bribery. Go to Turkey, you'll see everything bakshish. It's not a place to be. I don't care how much hair that will grow in your ears. Not a place to be. By the way, I don't understand what's this obsession of people, so you lost hair. So you lost hair. No, why, your hair is going to make you better. I'm going to tell you, you could be bold as an egg if you're the way you conduct yourself is like a man. You conduct yourself like a gentleman with class. Nobody's going to pay attention if you have hair or don't have hair. It's your weakness that's talking. Right? Am I right? Well, why only 100%? All right. So at that night, after that fatal meeting that they have over there, he fights with as we said before, with Elokim ve'anashim, and that causes him to change his name. Change the name of Yaakov, which Yaakov shows, it symbolizes to us some crooked attitudes inside of us, in the human reality of ourselves, and therefore he changes the name to Israel. And you see all the time when Am Yisrael behaves, they are called Bnei Israel, and if not, it's Bet Yaakov. And this is also, in a way, also a certain transformation that Yaakov is happening in his lane, from the reality of Yaakov to the reality of what we call Isha Elokim Israel. Now he's complete, he's whole. A person that has blemishes inside of him cannot call himself a man of God, cannot call himself a whole person. So, by the way, you should know that this was quite, the Chachamim were quite aware of this idea, even further down the generations. About, I would say, I don't know, I'm not so good at that, maybe 800, 1,000 years after that, the story of Yaakov and Esav, the prophet Hosea brings the pasuk and he says the following: Bebeten akav et achiv. In the stomach, he grabbed his brother by his ankle. In other words, in the awareness of Am Yisrael, there is this collective memory that our father maybe did not do something that was so good. The Navi says that. And maybe, I don't know if it's, whoa! Yedidi Kohen. There's some amazing chulin that Idan made. Wow, shechianu v'kimanu v'gianu. I'm so happy to see you. So, maybe after Hosea, I think like maybe 100 years or so, I'm not sure. After Hosea came, of course, the prophet Yirmiyahu, also known as Jeremiah. Not Geronimo, Jeremiah, right? And he gives tochecha, rebuking his people, or these people of his generation, for the falsy attitude that they have. Their hypocrisy, the fact that they are cheating one another all the time. And he says the following, he uses that phrase, Kol ach akov Yaakov. Every brother to another does what Yaakov did to his brother. Now that's Yirmiyahu, Rabotai. So in a way, he might be talking about Yaakov Avinu, but he's really talking about his people of his generation. But he really tells them of how they walk in something that is taken from Yaakov Avinu, right? And that path that Yaakov made from Yaakov to Israel is the path in which we have to walk to. We have to reach the level of Israel. And if we don't know yet what is that we need to do, I mean, we already did, we are Israel, right? So, and we are called Am Israel, so right? So why is it we have such problems with the nations outside? So there is a rule that everybody would bow down or surrender themselves or agree to the truth. If would come a person that all human beings, all humankind, would be persuaded and for sure know that he is a truthful man, all people, all mankind will follow him. Again, if there will be one person that is completely truthful, all mankind would follow him. The thing is that it's very difficult to follow or to submit yourself to a person that that you feel there is a little lie inside of him. Because when there is a lie inside of him, you see the lie outside. And you see the lie in terms of everybody else. And it says, why should I submit myself to something that is falsy? In other words, that's what we call today Olam HaSheker. That's Olam HaSheker. And if you want to know why the Goyim hate us so much and don't join us, it's because we didn't fix yet what we need to be fixed. Instead of being truthful, we did not follow that path from Yaakov to Israel. Today I saw something amazing by Senator Rubio. I put it on the chat. It was really good.
Very pro-Israel.
And why aren't there people who speak like Rubio? Say the truth. Because Are we living our life the way we should? I don't just blame. Listen, the Goyim are, they're wrong in how they treat this. But we also guilty in that. We don't live our life to the way it is. We ourselves not willing to say the truth. Say the truth. I don't understand why is it. We all know. I mean, you hear it all the time. That the so-called, which is the biggest lie of the 20th century, is the invention of the Palestinian people, or the Palestinian nation. We know that they are saying, they still say today, we still did not give up that armed struggle. They still think that they're going to come and they're going to get everything and the war is going to continue until they're going to get the whole land. As that, Tembelit Rashid said, from the river to the sea. Without being apologetic about it. They mean that. Why isn't one Israeli politician come up and say the truth? Listen, guys, I'm done. Tell to Blinken, the Blinken blinker over there that wants to commit himself to a Palestinian state. That and the American administration. Why won't you say the truth? Listen, buddy, they're not looking for peace. There's never going to be peace. Why won't you say that? Say the truth. I'm not a big fan of Golda Meir. But Golda Meir said something fantastic. She said the following. If the Arabs will put their weapons down, there'll be peace tomorrow. If the Jews will put the weapons down, there would not be Israel today. And it's true, even more so today. Are we truthful in ourselves the way we struggle? Are we truthful to the land? Do we really believe the whole land is us? If yes, why did you give it away? You don't give it back because it wasn't theirs. You gave it away. Why did you give it away? And I hold responsible all these people that were sitting in the government at the time during the Oslo Accord for whatever reason they had in the world that voted for that and not against that. All of them, including the rabbis. How could you fool yourself? We need to be truthful. We need to start living truthful life. One of the ways to start living truthful life is really follow your heart and be a simple man. Simple. Don't try to be sophisticated. Don't try to be what you're not. Follow your heart. Are you truthful to yourself? Are we truthful to ourselves? Are we playing a game? That is the problem. Until then, we can win. Until then, we have to hold the sword. Until then, we're not winning because we are weak, not because they're strong, because we are weak. And that's exactly what happened on October 7th. Israel inside was weak. Brother fighting against brother. It's not because the Hamas is so strong, because Israel is so weak. And we need to understand that. Our strength is in our truthfulness. Our strength is in our togetherness. And we need to understand that. Now, there's another difficult event that happened there, and that's the raping of Dinah. Dinah was captured, Dinah was raped, Dinah was violated. Just like our girls were violated on October 7th. Now, that is really an extraordinary event that happened, and it's a very unique event that happened. And it says the pasuk Nevela asa b'Yisrael. However, it's not only b'Yisrael. Nevela means a horrible thing was done, but not in Israel, also in the nations, because it says v'chen lo ya'aseh la'anot et habetulot. Right after the Mabul, the nations really picked their act together in terms of sexual interactions. They pulled themselves together a little bit, and Shechem ben Hamor broke that fence. whatever they put away, he decided to go San Francisco. He broke that fence. The Ramban does not accept the words of Rashi, and he says, "Velo yadati ki knaanim shtufim be'arayot uve'me'ema uve'zachur," as it says in Parashat, in Sefer Vayikra, Perek
Chavav.
Yudchet. Pasuk
Chavav.
Chazayin.
Oh.
Chav Zayin.
Oh.
See? כי את כל התועבות האל עשו אנשי הארץ אשר לפניכם. And they did not start us in that generation. So according to the Ramban, the Torah gives us testimony on the Knaanim. They are, as I'm quoting, שטופים בעריות ובבהמה ובזכור. They had an uncontrolled sex with anything that goes, anything that walked. However, it does not only teach the generation in which was the generation in which they entered the land, but also teaches us that the nations did not prevent themselves completely from Arayot even after the Mabul. So therefore, what does it mean, V'chen lo yaseh? What does it mean, V'chen lo yaseh? So nobody does that, so what does it mean, V'chen lo yaseh? So the Ramban continues, it says, Aval V'chen lo yaseh nimshach im be'Yisrael. Goes after the title Israel. Ki nevela asa be'Yisrael, because that's what he did to the people. V'chen lo yaseh ba'em. And that's not, that is a new thing. Nobody ever dealt with the Jews like that. Al ken ne'emar, that's why it was said, be'Yisrael. In other words, there was something very common among the nations, but among the Jews it didn't happen. By the way, with all the anger of Yaakov about the way they did milchama. But by the way, milchama, when you're doing war, you have to do it in a strategic way. You can't, when you're doing war, you can't operate out of emotion. And the claim that Yaakov had on the brothers, well, they were acting emotionally. They took revenge. They acted emotionally. They didn't do it so well calculated. However, something you're saying? Somebody asking a question? However, after the brothers gave Yaakov the answer, why, we're going to let our sister go like this? Yaakov did not say anything. However, you never find a case, again, ever, in the Tanakh, that a Jewish girl was raped by a Gentile. Never. Why? Because they knew, you do this, we're going to go after you, and after you have. So it's a lesson to learn. Now, when he says, Lo yaseh bahem be'Yisrael, but among the Knaanim, it's not considered to be a nevela, according to this, to the Canaanite way to measure things, to their scale, Maaseh Shechem Bedina was not an exception. It's something that happens there all the time. The Sefer Ktav Kabbalah brings those pirushim, those explanations, but he had a different take on that. And he says, V'chen lo yaseh, that his explanation gives a totally different view on the matter. And he says the following, V'li nira milat v'chen, inyan nachon emet v'yashar. He says something that is very accurate. Why? Because he says, Ken benot tzlovchad dovot. Also the daughters of tzlovchad are talking. Ve'odia katuv shelo haya charon apam al Shechem levado. Poel hara b'yadem. What's his name? Shimon and Levi were not just angry about Shechem, because go Shechem and don't go finish him up. Mm-hmm. They were angry about the whole entire city. Now, why? Because the people had to take whatever was sent in front of them, and then they have to act upon it. And lo kam velo za echad mehem al pi ha'emet limchot beyado Levi asot chatzifut agdola litfos bana'ara mitoch harechov. No one from Shechem got up and said, guys, what you're doing is wrong. Well, you're taking a girl from the street and you're raping her, and then you violate her in a different way. You sodomize her. Not only you rape her, you also sodomized her. That is something wrong. Habibi, you can't do that. Nobody said a word. Nobody's doing the right thing. And because of that, it says on these people, Asher tim'u achotam, in plural. And according to the Ktav and the Kabbalah, the exception, וכן לא יעשה, מציין שלא נעשה כן. Nobody did anything. In other words, nobody did anything that was emet, nachon, v'yashar. Nobody did the right thing. Shechem did the wrong thing and he slept with the daughter of Yaakov. And what did the other people do?
Stay silent.
They stay silent. They stay silent, and that's what it says, v'chen. Shechem did something wrong with his own hands. He, the one who did the actions. But the rest of the people did not say anything. That's why they became partners in this crime. And that partnership with the rest of the people is brought in the Pasuk. In Pasuk Chavav, it says, Bnei Yaakov ba'u al chalalim v'yavozu et ha'ir. And they came and they looted the city. Asher tim'u achotam. Not only Shechem did so, but also all the other people who witnessed this. And I'm going to tell you the following. I'm sick and tired of all these progressive people. They call themselves progressive, but it's simply backwards because their behavior of those progressive people today is exactly what Shechem did when they kept their mouths shut. When Jewish girls were violated, they were sodomized, and then they were shot in the back of their heads because those cowards could not look at their eyes, so they had to sodomize them, then shoot them in the back of the head. And all those liberals and all those darn progressive cannot say a word. Not the United Nations, not any liberal woman, not hashtag me, no me too, no me three, no nothing. When it comes to Jewish girls, everybody keeps their mouth shut. And as far as I'm concerned, I held all of them responsible for that. Not only those beasts from the Hamas who raped those girls and sodomized them. I held responsible all these people. Well, until today, don't say a word about that. Now I'm done being a feminist. I need to take care of my own people. Where is all those senators and all those ladies in Congress? And you are talking about that Israel should be proportional. So, if you know what proportional means it has to be in the right proportion, right? Okay. So how about some Israeli soldiers will go to Gaza and rape also and shoot some girls in the head? How about that? That will be proportional? What does Israel do? Selectively trying to hit. And as Rubio said, the fact that the Hamas is there, what Rubio said today is exactly for this parasha. He said the people are there, they didn't do anything, well, they should eradicate the Hamas from themselves. They didn't want to do it, they're guilty also. I don't know how in the right mind any Jew today can vote and cast his vote for people who did not condemn such a horrific act or associate himself with such people. I just don't know. And because of that, we don't win. And we're not going to win unless we're going to take things to our own hands. The Maaseh of Sdom, or what happened, that's okay. That's Kadosh Baruch Hu's business. What was done to Dinah, you see it today in this week's parasha, it's exactly what's happening now. There's only one thing those people understand, and that is force. And I'm sorry to say, the American government is wrong for stopping Israel. So they take them and they push them all to Egypt, or they push them all to Jordan. Now deal with it. Deal with it! How dare you force Israel to sign a death sentence? But even more so, how come are we all silent about it? Shabbat Shalom.